My boys made $40 on their first lawn care service, and yet they seemed disappointed. And then it hit me, this is where most people quit, because you're not getting paid for your skills, you're getting paid to learn them. Hi, my name is Ashley Marina. I'm the host of the Ash to Dust podcast, where we talk about everything and anything in the messy middle of life, from entrepreneurship, leadership, motherhood, hormones. If you are interested in it and I've experienced it, we are talking about it here on the podcast. So welcome. Okay, you guys. So it's Sunday, or at least this episode's coming out on Sunday, and I hope that you're in something cozy and you're just relaxing and you're taking care of yourself. And if you're watching this episode outside of Sunday, this is a good reminder right now. If you're watching me on YouTube, you see me in my comfy robe, on my comfy chair with my comfy blanket, and I hope it's a reminder to you to take a moment to pause and to focus on yourself a little bit. What are your dreams? What are your hopes and aspirations? And where do you want to go? Oftentimes when we are parents or we're raising children or we're really busy with our careers, sometimes we forget to stop and to ask ourselves, is this really what we want? All right, so speaking of that, what we really want, my kiddos started their own business called the Ritz Brothers Lawn Care Service. Now, I know you probably don't really care about that, but something happened that I think is really valuable, and many of you are following me right now because you feel stuck. You want to move up in your career. Maybe you want to get out of the career that you're in, but you just don't know where to go next. Or maybe you're looking to build something of your own, but you don't know how to get started and you are afraid to take the first step. And as I'm helping the boys build out their business, and yes, because I'm their mom, I'm taking this pretty serious and teaching them all of the things from marketing to understanding that, hey, all these things cost money and the only way you're going to get that is if there's money coming in. Yeah, it's a whole thing over here, but we are having fun with it. And the boys got their first paid job and they made $40 on this yard. And it's a pretty big yard, especially when you're push mowing. And they only have a push mower right now. So it is a pretty big yard. And we agreed, $40 with this person because they are awesome. And she was just like, look, let them learn. And I don't care what my yard looks like. But the thing is I have to pay them. Like, I'm not going to let them do this for free. So we're like, great, no problem. She was paying her brother $40 each week because the same thing, she didn't want him, not getting paid to do it. But now that he's kind of retired from the business of mowing her lawn, my kids are taking over. And at first, $40 seemed like great money until they did the yard. And they're like, Mom, this kind of doesn't match. Like the work that we did, how much time we put in, and then this, that was a lot. And I said, you're right. It was a lot of work. But the thing is that you're getting paid to learn the skill of mowing grass. You could be doing this for free and no one is paying you for it. So don't think of this as you deserve more. Think of this as, I don't know what the heck I'm doing right now. You're still learning how to weed eat and push mow and trim and do all the things. So the fact that somebody is willing to let you learn this skill and pay you something is so valuable. And then they looked at me like, okay, that makes, the wheels were turning. They were like, okay, that makes sense. But then I needed to follow that up with a real life scenario. And I shared with them my first speaking gig. So if you're new here, I am a keynote speaker, which is still so crazy to say that out loud, but I do speak for a living. And my first paid gig, I made $100. Do you know how excited I was that I got paid $100 to speak? Oh my gosh, I was like, oh, this is awesome, right? I had excitement about it because I didn't know that I could make money doing something that I actually ended up loving. So I let my kids know, you guys, my first paid gig was $100. Jump forward 6 years later, I charge $5,000 plus to go speak. And they looked at me and they were like, what? Now, I have not really shared a lot of my financial situation with the boys just because it was something that was private growing up. And what I'm realizing in business is that it doesn't need to be super private. You don't need to share your entire, portfolio with somebody or cash flow analysis. But I think that we lose sight of what is actually real and not. And so when I share with you and other people, like, yeah, I charge $5,000 for a speaking engagement, they're like, that's a lot of money. Oh my gosh, you're doing great. And I was like, well, hang on a second. It's $5,000 minus the taxes, minus the travel, minus the time to put into it, minus the time away from my family, and minus and minus. And I was like, but I don't, you don't do it just because you want to make money. Yeah, I want to make money. And I think that us women need to be more comfortable saying we want to make more money, and that's okay. But also we need to build our skill set to get there. And then this also was a topic that I thought we got to talk about it on the podcast, because someone had reached out to me recently and they are applying for a job and they know that they may not get this just because of seniority. And they were like, what do I do? Like, I feel like I'm putting everything into this and it's just I don't know if I can move up, and it's just I just don't know if I'm wasting my time here. And I sat with it for the day before I responded. And it hit me when I thought about all of my years leading up to owning my own business. And there were so many years where I was putting in the grind, putting in the work, doing things outside of my scope of work, helping other people on my team or in the office that I was in. I was making significantly less money than any of my counterparts, any of them, significantly less money. But I didn't show up thinking, I don't get paid enough for this. This isn't fair. They got this opportunity and I didn't. I flipped all of that on its head and I thought, if they can do it, I can do it too. If they can make that kind of money, I can do that too. And I didn't look at it like I'm not getting paid for it. I thought, I am here and have the opportunity to learn. So I am going to ask everybody in my office what I can help them with, even if it was so outside of my scope of work or what I was supposed to do, because I thought, well, while I'm here getting paid to do my job, why not learn how to do all these other jobs and get experiences in other departments? And I have done that with every job I've ever been in. I think part of it is the curiosity to learn and to grow and to wanting to know all the different things. And I recognize that doesn't necessarily come natural to everyone. But I also do think it stemmed from being a people pleaser a little bit. Like, I felt like I also just needed to go help. So I do recognize we need to set a little bit of boundaries and not just give everything away. But when you are first starting, whether if you're trying to start your own business, a side hustle, or you get your first professional job, your paycheck likely will not reflect what you feel like you should be paid. But I want you to think about, you get to be in a situation where someone is training you and developing these skills, so that way one day, like, use this as a stepping stone. So one day when the opportunity arrives, you're ready to run through that door. You're ready. And then also you can call your shot a little bit more and say, I know my value and I know that what I bring to the table is going to affect the organization or the business this way. And I am just loving this stage right now with the kids, the fact that they have this entrepreneurial spirit and they want to learn and they're out there hustling. I love it because that is me through and through. It's also funny, on a completely different side note, but moms and dads, you're going to get this. If their personalities really come through as they're building this little lawn care business. Yesterday, all three of them were in the yard. So Mike, my husband, has said, okay, I'm going to pay you guys to do our yard too. So we'll be your second paying customer. And they're like, oh, this is awesome. So they're all three out in the yard. They're practicing. They're doing these different things. And my youngest says, well, Mom, how am I supposed to make money in this business? What am I supposed to do if you won't let me actually mow and weed eat and all that? How am I supposed to make money? And I said, well, figure it out. You see the clumps of grass in the yard? You could rake it up. You could put it into a yard bag. Ask your brothers, can I record content for you? Because I can't do that all the time. My kids want me to record content for them for social media, which is awesome, but I have a hard time recording my own content for my own business. I was like, so Dawson, you could do that. Anyway, so he goes and grabs one of those big brown paper yard bags from Home Depot, and it's basically as tall as him, so he couldn't get it open. And I recorded this video. So I might post it on social media, but he puts his head in it and realizes, okay, it's too big. So he flips it up over his head and lets it come all the way down on him. But it was just funny because I have my oldest son who's like super particular. I have the middle son who is not particular, but he just wants to get it done. And then I have my youngest son who's like, okay, we got to make sure we're having fun here. And then if we get the job done, we get the job done, sort of thing. But just recognize that in yourself when you're getting started. Sometimes we get in our own head. Sometimes we expect things to happen way sooner than they should. And I blame social media for this. And I also, not that I like to blame things or people, but the reason why I started Ash to Dusk was to create a space that is real, that I'm sharing real-time experience with you, that I'm not multi-millions down the road than you. I'm just maybe a step or two further along, and I'm trying to help show you as I go, because I watch people all the time on social media, and they're making multiple millions of dollars, and it just seems like they were a lifetime ago before they were, like, since they've been in a situation like mine. And so there isn't really anyone who's just barely above, right? It just seems like the gap is so big. And I set off to do this podcast so that I could inspire you to just get started and to get out of your own way, get out of your own head. We overthink things all the time. I still do it. And I'll have my team members be like, Ashley, like, just get the course done. Just get it out there. Don't worry about it. You're just overthinking everything. And it's so true. But I don't want you to get stuck in your head that you don't feel as worthy or like you should be paid more. I want you to stop for a second and flip that on its head and say, I can do anything for a short period of time. And will this experience prep me for opportunities later down the road? And I think it was Malcolm Gladwell, in his book, he talks about success is really just the intersection of opportunity and luck. But you need to be ready for when that opportunity comes. And so, yeah, you're gonna have a little bit of luck along the way, but you gotta be prepared for it. So while you think you're hustling and you're grinding right now and you're not getting anywhere, you are. Use that and think, what skills am I creating right now? And so going back to the $40 thing, I said to the kids, listen, you have a whole year. So my oldest can start driving in 1 year. He gets his license. And I said, listen, you have an entire year to practice your skills of mowing, and especially neighbors, right? Because I mean, we don't have a truck and trailer right now. We don't have a zero turn. They just have the push mower. So I'm like, make your content, perfect your skills, be so grateful that you have 2 paid accounts right now. Learn how to, keep track of the money that's coming in and maybe some expenses that have to go out. Like, this is a really good practice so that when you start driving, you can promote everything you've done over the last year and also be good at what you do. So then you can charge fees that are similar to other lawn care services. And they're like, okay, Mom, all right. And I think these are lessons to carry over into our space, being adults and just still having dreams and not knowing where to go, but understanding that no matter what, you have to start from the bottom. And when I say I blame social media, it's just people put out all the time all these things that look so awesome and look at their success, but you didn't see the thousands of nights leading up to it. I shared this with you in the other episode. You didn't see the grind every single day and night leading up to it. You just saw, oh my gosh, look at this person who's making all this money and living out their dream. And if you take something away from today, I want you to take this. The early stage isn't the earning stage. It's the learning stage. All right, let me say that again. The early stage isn't the earning stage. It's the learning stage, meaning you're not going to earn premium dollars, okay? But what you are going to learn are all the skill sets that you need to carry them forward. Maybe you want to become a professional keynote speaker. Go to the local nursing home. Go anywhere that will allow you to speak in front of a group of people, even if it's for free. I have had to do many things for free in order to get the jobs that I wanted, or close to free. I think there are 2 things that people want to buy from you: your experience and your story. So right now, start honing in on your story. What is it that you want to tell? What is the journey that you want to showcase and share? And what experience do you bring with it? And if you sit there and think, well, I don't really have a lot of experience, this is the time to do it. While you have a full-time job, this is the time to start the side thing. Start doing it on the side, nights and weekends. Yes, there is a sort of hustle and grind that come in the beginning. There just is. I still grind and hustle. It just looks a little bit differently now. But at the beginning, I was working night and day, Monday through Sunday. Very little sleep, anxious about everything, and putting in all the work and not really seeing a lot coming back. And then out of nowhere, it all flipped. And now it's like, okay, I'm hustling and I'm grinding, but more and more keeps coming at me. And it's a blessing. So, all right, my friend, if you're waiting to feel ready or good enough before you start, you're skipping the exact phase that creates that. If my boys stick with this, that $40 turns into $100, turns into $200, turns into referrals, turns into an actual business, but only if they stick with it long enough to get better and to see those results. And it's the same for you, my friend. The beginning isn't supposed to feel worth it yet. It's supposed to build you into something that it's worth it for. All right, my friend, if you stuck around this long, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. This helps reach people who desperately need a community where they can grow and thrive. And I want to thank you so much for being here. All right, my friend, until I see you next time, keep your light burning from ash to dust.